Yes, what's up? This is Last Call Reacts. What up? We've been busy for the last few days, posting, doing stuff, Halloween events, in and out of chats, communicating with people, man. It's been wild. But I want to down to earth for a little bit on some stuff. I'm sure you saw the title. So let's just get into a couple things here, right? So we know lately that a verdict came out, and I'm talking about a verdict for one Sonya Massey or Massey. I'm sorry. I keep going back and forth. I look at the spelling. And so last thing I want to do is disrespect anybody in their name, especially in these times and these conditions, right? So let's backtrack if you don't know, because the honest thing about this is that there's been so many names, man. Unfortunately, so many injustices and things also. So we want to make sure we give this the proper representation that it deserves, because really it's tragic. But before I even start giving my one or two opinions that I have on this and the verdict, let's go back to some of the things and details of this case. So we know early on the morning of July 6, 2024, Massey called 911 because she believes somebody had broken into her home at the time, right? So she called, and these two officers showed up, one Sean Grayson and the other one by the name of Farley. So they came in. I'm sure some people may have seen the footage that was there of I can't even call it a confrontation, because even admittedly, Grayson's partner couldn't even call it a confrontation. He actually testified in court, which is tough. You can't cross that thin blue line. He testified that at no time did he feel like Sonya Massey was a intimate threat. So they came in, they checked the property a little bit. I believe before they even knocked the door, they were in the backyard and stuff, probably just seeing how things look, if they could categorize it as being any suspicious activity or anything like that. So after finding no evidence of suspicious activity or even people loitering around or even hanging around, the officer decided to approach the front door. Grayson knocked the door a few times, and they say it took about up to 3 minutes for Sonya to answer the door. Now, just a couple things here. And I'm really trying to do this as objectively as possible. When you analyze the video, instead of rushing into it with the anger or the same old, that, oh, they do this, that, the other. I think it's very clear and also backed up by Grayson's partner. Something about Grayson was very agitated. And this is where I just got to inject some of my opinion in here as well. When we talk about policing, when we talk about people that are supposed to serve, protect and serve the community, we talk about that. You can't, when you look at news and things in the media, often what happens is, oh, if they were white, this wouldn't happen, or ooh, it would be a different reaction if they were black and stuff. But I have to think with Sean Grayson's approach, he already seemed agitated that he had to do this sort of thing. I have to think that if it was a Sarah or Brittany Massey, they'd be in the kitchen chopping onions for the dinner. Versus, he spoke very aggressively. And what's even more concerning, and I know I'm jumping a little ahead of my own story over here, she asked for the Bible to be passed, and you might be able to tell, not even from that state, before you even went into the home. Those of you who saw the video, and go back and check it out, I just don't want to replay that moment, that tragic moment. I'd rather have the picture that I have up here for you guys to see and remember. She was a mother of two. Actually, should have blurred out that face, but that baby's much older now as well. So let me go back. Too much of my opinion at the moment. We'll get into that. We got a few minutes. This isn't going to be a super long video. It's just going to be a video. Little update. So they went to go check, knocked on the door. Grayson did seem very agitated in the way he asked questions. Basically, it was a lack of empathy, a lack of concern about her well-being, who that person made the call concerning her own well-being. So if you service the public, you come in with that sentiment, with that regard, that you are here to serve this person, or de-escalate, or find some sort of a resolution for the problem that you were dispatched to go and help with, assist with. So they said they didn't find anybody around the property and anything. And if you just really see Massey's demeanor, maybe some of her ramblings, you could tell something is not quite right. She's in some sort of state of let's say disarray, a little bit of fogginess, the way that she's speaking and stuff like that. You could tell she obviously doesn't need to be persecuted or interrogated at this point. I shouldn't say interrogated, because they do need to get some information about the situation that they're in, but to have a little bit of goddamn patience. So they say, or in the video, you could also tell that she starts using the phone and stuff like that. And they could see there's no threat. I guess they wanted to finish up the report and all that. They asked about a car that was outside that wasn't registered, said it wasn't her name, it wasn't under her name. So they were asking a few questions about that, maybe running the license plate and everything as well. Right? So Grayson continued to talk about a couple things, maybe told her to go get her ID, so she was shuffling through some. Now, if you were asked for your license, really, that should be an under 10-second deal. You know what I'm saying? I'm always surprised sometimes if I can't find my wallet or my keys, because literally when I come home, it could really only be in a couple of places, right? And I guess that's for most people. If it's not where I'm supposed to have it hanged up, or if it's not in my pocket that maybe I forgot when I was hanging that up or something like that, I'm in trouble. I don't know where the hell else it could be, between some cushions, anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But she shuffled through to try to get the information. And again, you could just see his demeanor is very aggressive. And it gets worse at that point, right? So as she's going through her purse to get her information, to get her license, she asked the officer, Grayson, to hand her a Bible. And, some might find that odd. And I really don't know. I don't know if that part of it is odd. But the next, barely a minute after this. So you got to conceptualize this in a very quick fashion, decisions being made. I could give the cops that. But what I won't give is that after this, the deputies mentioned this, so her attention wasn't even about the boiling water. So her attention was at the matter at hand, getting the officers the information that they requested, and proceed to wrap it up. So I believe one of the other officers said, we don't need a fire while we're in here, sort of deal. So she went, picked the pot off the stove, and was walking from the stove to the sink. Farley and Grayson moved backwards, which alerted Miss Massey to say, hey, why'd you guys, move away? What's up with that? And I believe this is where the escalation part happened in this. So Grayson replied, and you can also hear it in the video. It's there. It's available. I'm just not showing it here. He's distancing himself from the boiling water. Said, which in some sort of way, I'm going to use the word triggered her Say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Now, this is personal opinion over here. This is the part that's not going to be objective. I believe Grayson kind of heard this old crazy black spiritual stuff and got worried. Directly after she made that statement, Grayson pulled his gun out and completely escalated the situation by saying, cover your ears if you don't want to hear. You better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you in the fuck. 3 F's. 3 F's in the same sentence. He said, I'll shoot you right in your effing face. And he did. He did. As you can see in the video, if you wish to go that far and actually look that up, you don't have to. It's as bad as it sounds. At one time when media started being more available and we started having cameras everywhere, people thought it would be a good idea to, look at these things as they were happening. But you don't have to be able to conceptualize what the tragedy is. So they said they advanced from the living room. And as you can see there's that, what do you call that? The barrier, the bar, the kitchen counter between the living space and the kitchen over there. And they said after a couple seconds, which wasn't a fraction of a second, of saying, drop the pot. Now, remember, you showed up. It took her 3 minutes to even get to the door. She can't even find a license in her own purse. And now you're shouting not just obscenities, but orders from both of you guys. And I believe part of that is tactics to also confuse. You can't even call her a suspect, the person in the vicinity there. So on top of that, and again, this is what we're talking about, the lack of empathy. I believe they showed up in another neighborhood, maybe a different ethnicity, there wouldn't be the shouting. There wouldn't be the I'm bothered to be here attitude. You signed up for this, man. And nobody's abusing. Nobody's shouting obscenities at you. Nobody's putting you down. Nobody's putting you in danger. I think he had an itchy finger that night. And on top of being there when he didn't want to, and perhaps having some sort of bias serving that portion of the community, all of that weighed in his decision and his intolerance to not even consider life. Consider she's a mom of two. Consider that she was unarmed. Consider that she wasn't a threat. That she needed compassion for a second. Somebody off the street with common sense could probably say, but you're trained to assess the situation. Now, unfortunately, it looked like Farley stepped out of the picture for a little bit, so it was just up to Grayson. Now, they don't even know if she's holding the pot, but what we could see, she wasn't holding the pot up in any threatening way. It wasn't above her head. It didn't look like she was going to strike or throw any of the hot liquid towards the officer. So just like the officer Grayson said, he'll effing do this, he'll swear to effing God, he'll shoot you in the effing face. That's exactly what he did. There's no warning shot. There's no arm, leg, arm, nothing of that stuff. You went straight for the kill shot on a defenseless woman who was complying. She was complying. Now, to add insult to injury, normally this is where the video kind of cuts off and stuff. So to add insult to the injury, Farley goes to get a medic kit. As where Grayson responds to, she's done. You can go get it, but it's a headshot. So nonchalantly tells him that. And says he's not even going to waste his time on his med stuff then. And threw the med kit on the floor. Massey was pronounced dead at St. John's Hospital in Springfield, which also has a little bit of a history there. Let me see if I could again, I'm running later than I wanted to. I try to make these videos like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then I end up really getting invested in putting my opinion in there. So I guess it's okay. There's no time on it. Shout out, brother, a certain age with the feedback. So here. She's 36. She was 36 years old, which is still very, very young. Right? Here's a couple things that we should know in the wrapping up of this. And the reason why we're talking about this, of course, it happened in 2024, but they just wrapped up the sentencing with Sean Grayson is found guilty of second-degree murder, where he got the lesser charge to do a lesser penalty. And what's the penalty? Very vague, 4 to 20 years. Which he'll get time served, which he'll get good behavior time. He probably won't even see double digits for that. This is the one that your former president, Biden and Harris, did say while they were penning the George Floyd Act that somebody should be able to call for help without it ending like that as well. Right? They say the history of this Grayson character kind of blurry, kind of blemished. But he was sentenced recently. And this is where I say good for the movements that we've had lately, some of the organizations. I know a lot of people, this has Ben Crump in here, this has Black Lives Matter, but without people, we were just talking about in one of the chats, one of the lives, about showing up and being advocates. Those were the most visible advocates who were the catalyst for change in some of these cameras, body cams being put on officers to be able to document and record some of this craziness going on, thus creating room for convictions. Now, here's something interesting for you from Massey's family over here. One of her ancestors, William Donegan, was lynched in the same town from the 1908, say race riot, but race massacre, and pronounced dead in the same hospital that Sonya was. So from 1908, isn't that ridiculous? That case of the race massacre, don't say race riot because it's not black against white. It's an all-out attack on disadvantaged people in the first place. But anyway, that case from 1908 is one of the is cause for founding, one of the cases for the founding of the National Advancement Association for the Advancement of Colored People, otherwise known as the NAACP. So a little bit of closure. Although maybe it's not the sentence, maybe first degree, maybe they were taking away the intent. They were throwing this officer a bone, as they do in Donald Trump's America, to have full immunity for all your devious deeds, even when you do something like this and it looks like you weren't trained at all. Is this a step in the right direction? It shouldn't have happened anyway, right? But it happened. There's a body cam on it. There's documentation on it. It went exactly to the bench, to the court where it was supposed to go. And then we have some sort of a resolution. Nothing's going to bring the lives back. What we have to do, we have these things now in place that hopefully, and yeah, I'll agree with the last couple cases, it's supposed to deter that sort of behavior. I think now where there's more accountability for these sort of things, they know. You think his partner's going to draw his gun on anybody holding water for now? So I think maybe it's a little bit of a deterrent, but respect and RIP to this black woman who called for help, who wasn't seen as a human being and was treated shitty towards the last few minutes of her life. And of course, they waited damn near almost 2 weeks to collect Sean Grayson. They let him walk around free just like they do everybody else, like Derek Chauvin and all these other ones. But today, this week, perhaps, we get a little justice. And no, I have a problem calling it justice, but because it shouldn't even have went that far anyway. But perhaps a little closure for the family, in this case, to bring it to the spotlight. That senseless things, message to the police, man. You're here to protect and serve us too. Pay taxes, goddammit. So instead, turn off that attitude when you approach somebody's property and have a little bit of empathy. So she could be your sister. You were young enough that could be your mother. It's somebody's daughter. But if you just approach it like another nuisance, you're going to have the attitude like it's another nuisance. And we're not nuisances. We're tax-paying citizens, productive citizens of society. Just a little bit of something to think about. But it's the case. It's in the news. I wanted to do a little report about it last week. I'm glad that we got around to it today. A little something for the books. I hope the family finds some peace. Man, this country pays out a lot for the misdeeds of these law enforcement or anybody in the judicial system. If you're a racist, if you're anything, if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, you should be offended by how much money racism is costing you. A little something to think about. This is Last Call Reacts, Last Call Video. Drop it once a week. Come join me on my live Friday at 9 p.m. and check out my site. Do me a favor. Subscribe to my stuff. I was going to use some foul language, but there's no need to. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you around these YouTube streets, man. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.